when I first started and Panda like started taking off, I was working, I was delivering pizzas. And once I realized that my YouTube was doing well, I found out that you can monetize those videos.
Alright, give me one of these ones. What's up, guys? Xavier here with you finally. We've had a few false starts, but we're here on the Heard Well podcast. This is How'd You Do It. I'm here with the guy, goes by the name of AK. I was listening to him on the way here, as I have been all morning actually, for the last few months. But and then it was funny because I'm sort of listening to you, I'm getting really into these lyrics, and then you called me. He's like, yo man, yo, it's AK, I'm at the studio. I'm like, oh god, this is a trip. I had no idea
where I was going.
Yeah, this is a trip. But so what brings you out this time around?
Hey, I'm just getting back in the studio. More music. Got some meetings to handle the business side of everything, but I'm just here to create different environment. I love it. Yep.
So for those of you who are watching that don't know who this guy is, I wanted to just pull up a minute or so of your first video with the cover, the beat you put over with Panda.
Oh yeah.
Wow. I think it really you probably watched it to death and you're probably sick of talking about it, but it really provides some amazing context. All right, so this is, you getting a little frustrated. This has got a little attitude here.
Yo, I was so mad. Yeah, I was so mad. It's cringy as hell.
No skate, but I'm great when I'm locked in. I do my thing every day, very often. I never sleep, but it's okay, cause I love is some honesty. Got the potential to be the top rapper and not be forgotten. I got start now with the rough.
I just love this. Like, I mean, it's such a great representation, and I did notice in a lot of your, a lot of the comments of people just referring to this and these types of videos, and almost feeling like, you know, that they were sort of there along with you in the journey. Do you feel like you have a lot of those fans that started out in these days?
Definitely. And I feel like, and I know that as I've progressed and have gotten more so out of my bedroom, there's been a lot of different things said. People are either really happy that I'm not rapping in front of my microphone and doing it in my bedroom, and then there's people who absolutely hate the fact that I'm not doing that anymore.
Right.
So like, it's a bittersweet, but like I know, yeah, exactly, and I know that like there's no way I could please everybody, so I'm just still staying in my lane, doing my own thing, and as long as things are moving up, like I can't complain. I just gotta keep it going.
So how did all this start? Like, I mean, this was, and correct me if I'm wrong here, this is the first video that you ever uploaded?
That's the first video I ever uploaded.
How many, what are we at, 38 million views on that one?
Something like that, yeah. That's crazy.
That's pretty crazy, man. Like I have different YouTubers and creators that come in every week, and they'll be like, man, like, it took 5 years before anything took off. It took 10 years before.
Well, yeah, I was pushing SoundCloud. Like,
shit,
this was senior year. The summer going into senior year, I put this video up. And it did 0 numbers for 6 months, like literally like a couple views a day. And then by November of my senior year, there was one morning I woke up and it was at 1,000 views. And then the next day it was 10,000. Next day it was 100,000. By the end of the week it was 1 million. So that's when I realized.
What was the little jump there?
I still to this day have absolutely no idea. But once I realized that there was traction, my brother helped me out and was like, yo, you gotta be consistent, especially with a platform like YouTube. Put a remix out every 2 weeks, and at the time I was putting a song out a month on SoundCloud and just pushing that. So once this happened, it kind of changed everything for me, because like this was the first time I was in front of a camera, like putting myself out there. So it was a little difficult to make that transition.
How did you feel? Was it uncomfortable for you, sort of being look how angry you looked there.
Oh damn, bro! Yeah, that kid's mad as shit. And you see the little wave? My brother was so hyped when he found that.
He was like, yes. VFX.
Yeah, he was like, that just affected the video. It's so sick.
That's great. So was it nerve-wracking, sort of like putting a face to the sound and getting on YouTube?
It was, but at the same time, I'd never done it before, so I wasn't really too worried about it. But like when I realized nobody gave a shit about it, I was like, I kind of just did all of that, put myself out there, and nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
I contemplated deleting it because I was like almost embarrassed about it, but then I forgot about it. And then I was still pushing my SoundCloud at the time. And
exactly. It is awkward, uploading a video and having like 9 views on it. Like that's hard. How did this all start? Like how old were you when you got interested in this and just the idea to even put your own lyrics over an established beat?
It's a kind of a funny story. So my brother used to make music with his friends when he was in high school. I was in 7th or 8th grade, and I just thought the idea of it was so dope. Like, they were able to just be in my brother's room and make a song. And it wasn't like great quality, like it didn't sound great, but like they were still able to do their thing. So I remember I asked them, I said, when can I get on a song with you guys? And they were like, nah, you got to prove yourself first. Like, you're not able to rap with us yet. And I was just like, all right.
So your brother was a rapper as well?
His friends, they didn't really take it serious. They just did it for fun. So he actually ended up leaving to go visit one of his friends in college. So he drove up to Rhode Island, and I was home. So I took the microphone and the laptop that him and his boys recorded with, brought it into my room, and then recorded something and played it for him when he came back. And he was like, oh, shit. And I was like, yeah, like, let me join you guys. But that never happened. But since then, from that point forward, they kind of slowed down. But I guess I got them at the tail end of their that phase.
Yep.
But yeah, so I just had it at my fingertips. So I just continued doing it. I loved it. Still
You
do.
just picked it up and ran with it.
Yeah, man.
Jeez, right. Okay. So, you know, you seem like, and it's also funny, like you also look so much different to when you were, you know, obviously we all did. I mean, it's only been like 3 or 4 years, and you almost seem like you've transformed into a completely different person. And right now you're an artist. You're extremely articulate and expressive, because that's your art form.
Yeah.
What were you like in high school when you were a teenager? Were you always as sort of confident and expressive as you are now, or a different sort of person?
I always knew who I was, and I was very what's the word? I wasn't never trying to get acceptance, but I always knew that I was different.
Yep.
And that was always something I battled with, especially towards the end of high school. Once I realized how much I loved music, though, anything that would keep me away from it, I just knew that music was my foundation. So like I would always come back to it. So that's kind of what built me, I feel like. And being in high school, it's different. Like, especially when you make music, there's a lot of people saying like, oh, like he's just like the rapper. Like, what is he gonna actually do after high school? So like, those thoughts would always run through my mind, but I always knew that this is what I was going to do. And I even have like conversations with my mom, like on video, like talking to her about like, it's gonna be all right. Like my SAT scores, when she got them back, I came home and she was bawling her eyes out, like so scared for my future. Like she had no idea what I was gonna do, but I did. So I guess I was very to myself, but I also had my friends, but I was very to myself.
Kept quiet about it. Yeah, right. And how did your mum feel about you? Obviously you decided not to go to college, I'm guessing, and sort of pursue this.
I told her sophomore year I wasn't going to college, and she said, yeah, you're going to community college, and then you're going to figure it out. I was like, nah, it's not happening. Like, I know it's going to work. I'm going to make it happen, and it's so wild.
Yeah,
so wild.
Right. And so I was also impressed that you do a lot of your own production as well. How did that, was that something you just sort of picked up along the way, or was it a conscious sort of effort to get in that road as well?
The beginning of last year, I told myself I wanted to put out at least one song in 2019 produced by me, and I started producing. I think I got the equipment in March, and by June, I released my first song that was self-produced, Ignorance is Bliss. And I learned basically just from watching all the producers that I work with. Like I'm like a hawk, like I'm over their shoulder, just like watching everything they do, seeing what each knob they're turning does, and trying to pick up that way, so that when I go back to my bedroom and I'm just by myself and can zone in, I could just try to do exactly what they were doing and figure out how to use the program, you know?
Sure.
I use Logic to produce.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I mean, you also seem like you're a pretty good keys player as well.
I love playing the keys.
Did you was that before the rapping started? So you were okay.
I played. My dad had this really old like Casio piano that he used to mess around with when he was like a teenager, and I always would look up. My mom asked. I remember. Wow, I was in the car ride from Wawa going back home, and my mom was like, I want you to learn this song on piano. I was like, all right, play it. So she played it. It was Boston by Augustana. And it seems pretty simple, like listening to it. So then I went home and I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna learn this. And once I figured out the right hand, I was like, all right, now I got to figure out the left hand. And then once I figured out how to play with both, I was like, oh shit, I feel like a god right now. Like I'm actually creating this stuff.
Yeah.
So from that point forward, I just kept trying to learn like popular songs, like what's that song, 1,000 Miles?
Dude, I had a feeling you were about to say that. Why did I know you were going to say that?
1,000
What
Miles.
was the name?
Oh my God.
Proclaimers?
No.
That's what I think of.
Why can't I think of her name? Vanessa Carlton. Yeah.
Man, what?
Yeah, what a throwback.
Just like low-key writes one of the most iconic
Yo,
piano riffs
straight up.
ever. Everyone can't help it going.
Yeah, especially after White Chicks, the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Terry Crews going.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
So funny.
Right, and that's, I mean, dude, from where I'm sitting, like piano skills just seem detrimental into like being a producer.
For
as
sure,
well.
because everything is translated from the keys. You just plug your keyboard in and you're able to get any sound you want
any instrument
from the keyboard. So once you learn the keys and the scales and chords and stuff like that, you just piece them all together. And
that's cool. I watched your video you posted on Instagram a little while ago, just showing how you came up with the production for, what was the song? I'm trying to remember.
The latest one I produced?
Yeah, but you had a video on Instagram of you just basically like explaining and showing the sounds.
I've done that for all the singles I've produced.
Okay, gotcha.
Ignorance is Bliss, Closed Off, and Got
I was
Bored.
gonna say, like, from that at least, it definitely seems like you knew what you were doing.
Yeah.
And I saw a bunch of comments of people being like, "Man, look at this kid! Like, he was in his bedroom a few years ago. Now he's got a full studio set up."
Yeah.
And is that in your bedroom as well? Like, same place?
It's the same bedroom. It's just my
new
room looks
equipment.
completely different.
Right. Right. All right. We got a couple of questions that have come in.
Let's get it.
What was the first hip hop
Song you remember listening to?
song you remember listening to?
The one that made me realize I wanted to make hip hop was Ill Mind of Hobson 5.
Okay.
Yeah, because that one I connected with so much, and especially at that time, because I was just getting into high school. So once I, like, all of the things he was talking about with like drugs and everybody's influenced by like the artists they're listening to and all that, I was like, oh shit, like I know a lot of people who weren't like that before this time, you know? So that one definitely hit me different, and that was like, this guy's telling a story, I want to do the same.
Yeah, right. I mean, there's quite a few questions coming in of people asking about your influences.
Yeah.
Who would you say are a couple of your biggest influences?
Biggest influences, definitely Hobson, for sure, because he was like the #1 guy I was listening to. He was like my first like idol of hip hop. J. Cole for sure. Kendrick's a big one. I always liked 50 Cent, T-Pain, Akon. There's a lot.
Nice. You get compared with. I know there's seems to be a lot of comments about Eminem, and people being like, "Yo, man, Eminem needs to see this kid."
Yeah. When I was younger, that's the thing. Like a lot of people get surprised when I don't say Eminem was one of my biggest influences, but I guess because how Hobson was so influential to me, that's Eminem felt the same way about Hobson. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of trickled down to me.
Sure.
But I was never allowed to listen to Eminem because just the content, you know. But I get it now, looking back. My parents definitely.
Oh yeah, I mean,
yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. I definitely, yeah.
And man, like, look, it's not an easy, as anyone will attest in the music space. It's not an easy thing to live off. You know what I mean? To start when you're starting out and developing. Like, how did you go from, being a kid in their bedroom to getting management, pay, like, publicity, touring, all that stuff. I mean, it's
all out of pocket.
Yeah,
we're still
it's a
independent.
lot of money. Yeah, it's a lot of money, and even touring is a lot of money. You know what I mean? And a lot of people don't understand that. How did you go sort of just navigating that space, even knowing, even if you had a manager come to you, how do you know to sign with that person over someone else? Like, how was your experience sort of getting your team around you and navigating that space?
When I first started and Panda started taking off, I was working, I was delivering pizzas, and once I realized that my YouTube was doing well, I found out that you can monetize those videos. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna monetize these videos as I post them and see what type of money is being made. And when I was a senior, I was making, from what I now know, is a very solid amount. So I would just let it stack. And Brian, eventually, my manager, Brian Tiffy, he reached out to me through my brother, because he was emailing me, texting me, and he had no profile picture or nothing. Like, it was sketchy. So he eventually reached out to my brother through Facebook, and I gave him a call, and we set up a meeting on the phone. We had a long conversation. We kind of just hit it off on the phone, first call. And then I flew with my family to LA to meet him and kind of vibe out in person, see what he was like, see what he was about, and just talk about what types of things he sees in me and like where he sees this going and stuff. And after that is when I was like, we're in a good spot.
How old were you at that stage?
This was, I was still a senior. It was end of senior year.
So dude, that's pretty crazy. Like, you know, you're in high school flying out to LA to meet with managers about your music career. Like, that's pretty insane.
Shit is wild. Bro.
How did your family respond to that when you're like, look, we need to hit the airport?
Yeah, they were stoked. My dad, he's been at LA before, so he was excited about coming back. My mom, she was excited because she had never been. So it was my sister as well. It was all
family.
It was all good vibes. Yeah, they were all excited to come out.
If you like what you saw, make sure you check out some of our other videos right here, and also be sure to subscribe to our channel right here for new videos coming out every week.